The CNN Civil War is here. Scott Jennings, the ratings master of the cable news channel, now being challenged by Julie Roginski and others who say he's got to go. Get him out of there. Cancel him. Censor him. Don't let him say another word on air. Today, we'll show you what's going on and why they want him out of the chair, removed, and they don't care what it does to CNN.
There you go. How about this, Scott? Why don't you continue talking, and I'll just sit here
all
and listen
right, you
to
know
you.
what, guys?
I
think we all have each other's X handles where we can continue this conversation.
The CNN Civil War has begun, ladies and gentlemen, and it is glorious. You have to see it to believe it, and it just so happens we have it for you right now, served up on a platter of chatter, and it's fresh for you right here. Gunther Eagleman is posting this one. Scott Jennings just owned Julie Roginski. Here it is out of CNN, and this kicked off a battle like you have not seen before. Of course it has to do with Minnesota. Of course it has to do with Nick Shirley. The lame stream, going extinct, dinosaur media can't stand this stuff. You got Don Lemon breaking into churches and possibly being taken down by the DOJ. You got all this stuff happening, right? But in the midst of it all, Scott Jennings, one of the only, maybe two people on CNN who has, his point of view, he continues to just decimate them. And Julie has lost it on this one. We'll show it to you. First, the clip that set everything into motion.
You listen to Scott and you listen to all this rhetoric coming out of the Republican Party. These are the same people that defended opening fire hoses on protesters in the 60s on the Selma Bridge. I mean, these are people who consistently
I think those were Democrats, Julie. Just FYI. Those are Democrats. Those were Democrats in the 60s.
Scott, people like you
that was your party.
Exactly that kind of behavior.
But thank you for reminding everybody that Democrats were against civil rights.
How about this, Scott? Why don't you let me finish and stop interrupting? Because clearly, whenever anybody tries
you're the one that brought up Democrats.
I
agree with you. Democrats shouldn't have been against civil rights.
You're the person. Well, there you go. How about this, Scott? Why don't you continue talking, and I'll just sit here and listen to
you know
Go
what,
ahead.
guys? I think we all have each other's X handles where we can continue this conversation.
I mean, that's vicious. You can't decimate somebody more than that. Lauren, before we even go to how she responded after this, because she's not happy. And she didn't just lose and take one for the team. Lauren, your rundown on just how badly this went.
I got to be careful about this because that little twit reminds me of somebody that I know. So I think Scott Jennings handled it masterfully, and he was factually correct, which is the best that you can hope for in these kind of conversations. So she unintentionally made a fool of herself because of her ingrained bias and lack of knowledge of history. So it's beautiful when you see them take themselves down.
Let's go now to how she reacted, because there's tremendously important to learn from this. Out of the Huffington Post, hosted by Yahoo News, by Lee Moran. Not Moron, folks. Don't make that mistake. It's Lee Moran. CNN panelist goes nuclear on Scott Jennings in viral post. I'm probably about to be banned. So if you thought that Julie Roginski was going to, be moderate in her, reaction and, you win some, you lose some. Think again. Democratic strategist Julie, a frequent CNN panelist, took aim at both the network and conservative commentator Scott Jennings in a scathing Substack post in which she acknowledged the criticism could cost her future appearances on CNN. Quote, I'm fairly confident that this column will get me banned from CNN's airwaves, she wrote in the latest issue of her Salty Politics newsletter, headlined, I'm probably about to be banned from CNN, but someone has to say this about Scott Jennings. Roginski made clear her issue, not that the Trump-loving and endorsed Jennings is a Republican, but how he behaves, what he contributes, and what his presence signals about what CNN now tolerates. She slammed Jennings as having an at-best optional relationship with the truth, favoring bluster over debate, and accused him of frequently talking over and showing disdain toward female co-panelists. Oh, Scott, shouldn't have messed with her. Now you're a sexist. The strategist also alleged that he selectively edits clips that he shares on social media to make it appear as though he owned the person he was debating because he's too chicken blank to post the whole segment that would expose the truth. Rodzinski said CNN should seriously reconsider what Jennings brings to the table and ask itself, quote, what is Scott Jennings adding that could not be accomplished by any number of conservative analysts who are capable of making arguments without bad faith theatrics? CNN's legacy is not guaranteed, she warned, arguing that continuing to platform Jennings is essentially a choice to debase discourse, excuse bad behavior, and signal that being loud matters more than being right. Jennings and CNN are yet to respond to the post. In other words, Julie Rodzinski lost and lost badly. She was humiliated. And rather than learning anything, she did what so many of her ilk do. She immediately said, fire him. Fire him, censor him, deplatform him. This will not stand. He's a sexist. He's a bigot. That is what they believe they ought to do every single time they lose in the theater of facts and logic. The argument she had didn't carry water, and now she wants him off the airs of CNN. Andy, your thoughts on this one? I think this is about to explode. I bring this up because I actually think more CNN personalities are going to refuse to go on with Scott Jennings because they're getting ransacked logically by him.
Did anybody see that video with the, it's one of those whatever manosphere things where the girl calls all the guys misogynistic and the host says, well, what do you mean by that? How do you define that? And then she just cries and says she wants to leave and go home. That's what you see here. Like once they get their arguments destroyed, they just like, look how mean you're being. You're being a meanie pants. You're making me look stupid, and that makes me feel bad. It's not the problem with them that they lose the argument. It's look how bad he made me feel. It's like, well, you deserve to lose the argument if you put out there things that aren't true and they're verifiable that like you're coming from the exact wrong position. I think that people on the left are so used to not having to debate, where people that are more on the right, and I use these terms loosely because I don't feel that the right and the left are like actually right and left. I think that Overton window has shifted so much to the left that basically people that voted for John F. Kennedy were considered far right these days. And I think that they have this mindset where they've never been challenged, where is like, it's if you're on the right, you actually have to search out opinions. You have to go and find somebody who can give you a viewpoint like that because it's not on the mainstream. You can see this when they bring somebody on one of these talk shows. They always introduce them as a conservative host. They never say, here's a liberal host, because that's just their default position. They just like have that idea like, well, these are the people that are correct, and these are those crazy people on the other side there. And they don't have anybody that's ever given them pushback. They just live in this echo chamber where everyone just agrees with them, has the same viewpoints. And then when they're put up against somebody, which I think is why that gentleman over the summer was targeted the way he was, because he was defeating them at that. And the response is emotion. The response is anger. The response is to demonize you and just hate you because they couldn't stand up to an argument. They don't think about these things. If you were to actually put some thought and put some logistical proof to these policies that you're advocating for, they've been tried time and time again, and they say it's not real socialism, it's not real communism. Yes, it is, because that's human nature, to abuse power. And whenever you give somebody absolute power, they will absolutely abuse it, and it will turn on you. I had a good friend of mine, my teacher, who was a refugee from communist China. And the things that they did to his family and just taking everything, the factory that they owned, and leveling their house and put them and their 13 kids in a shack. And the elites, the intellectuals, the academics, those targets turn on them very quickly afterwards. But they don't read this stuff and they don't look at it. And I think it's by design, because when I was in school, we learned civics, we learned these histories. But that stopped. And it stopped because these same people that advocate for these things put themselves into positions of teaching and administration.
Can I tell you something, Andy? I think that there are true believers, of course. I also think that there are very cynical executives who look at CNN. They're part of the political machine. They're part of msnow, CNN, etc. And I think that they believe that whatever happens, so be it. It's great for ratings. It's great for ratings, and they desperately need ratings right now. And they need to get something to throw the midterms into chaos, because then people will tune in, and then people will go vote. They need chaos, and right now, they don't got chaos. So I think that they're actually willing to instigate the chaos. And when somebody like Scott Jennings blocks them from the chaos, they get mad about it. They get angry about it. They get furious about it because he's stopping their agenda. Andy?
Yeah, I agree. I think you're on the money with that. That it's definitely I don't think that they know what the chaos looks like, though. In theory, they're just like, but we've seen in 2020, we saw like what this giving reins is way back when during the Rodney King thing. Whenever you turned on the news, the headline said the same thing, and it was just to instigate and then all of a sudden it blows up into what it did with the violence and the fires and the deaths, which always get glossed over. And I don't know if there's, in an ideal world, the viewership, which their viewership is already low, the viewership used to be an accountability. People would get tired of watching these things and move away from it. But I don't know that happens anymore. I believe, like what we were talking about earlier, Lauren's point about the mice in their echo chambers. I totally see that happening because nobody wants to talk and listen anymore. We had a guy that wanted to talk to people and bring an opposing point of view, and we saw what happened.
Andy, it's kind of like, I don't know if you ever watched these, like when a hurricane is coming towards the coast, and they'll load up their reporters in the city that they think could be devastated. And then the hurricane turns, and it's going to go out to sea, and it's not going to make even landfall. And they'll come on the airwaves once they find that out, and they say, "Thank God, hurricane's going to go out to sea. Lives will be saved." They're unhappy. They're unhappy because, hey, hurricane wiping out an entire city on the East Coast. Boy, that's great for ratings. By the way, what we've been watching, folks, is just the mannerisms of Scott Jennings. This is why they can't stand the guy. Steve, as we watch this, they can't stand that he just sits there smugly owning them. He just owns them over and over. And it doesn't have to be because he's conservative, right? If he was a centrist and he was doing this, fine. But he just does it over and over again. It's like, I don't know, it's like fish in a barrel at this point. And I think they're going to start refusing to go on with him. I think CNN's going to have to figure out something because a lot of these personalities, they're going to bail out on this.
The problem for them is that he actually listens, as Andy was saying, right? Scott actually listens to what they're saying, and then he formulates his response. But because he's super sharp, he's able to articulate a defense or a response or whatever is necessary in the moment within a matter of seconds. But it's because he's actually listening to them. And I think that very similar to other people that Andy also referenced, that's a superpower these days, is people that actually know how to listen. Because the temptation for everybody in general, and this isn't like a new problem, is just to respond to the first thing that you heard that was a criticism, instead of trying to find whatever the deeper point was. And if you can find the deeper level of criticism, or the deeper thing that's the greater fault line where it can all fall apart, because you're actually listening, you'll be able to go to the heart of the matter. And that's what Scott does as a general rule. Now, I don't listen to him ever because I don't watch CNN. I've seen clips. But from what I've observed in my several times of seeing clips, he just listens, and then he'll make like a 30-second response, and then someone else will go off for 4 minutes because they're mad at whatever he said. But it's because he was pointed. He was more like an assassin to their point because he actually listened to what they said.
Yeah. And it's just over and over and over again. Go ahead.
Any of the reporters who say, "I'm not going on if he's on," they're going to lose their job, because CNN needs him, and CNN knows that they need him, because he needs to be the bad guy. He's not there to be like the hero of like CNN. He's there to drum up controversy. He's there to do exactly what he's doing, be a conservative pundit that happens to be quite right a lot of the time, which creates challenge, it's wrestling. He's the heel. Like, that's what he's there to do.
Yeah, that's a good point.
After hearing this clip, Pro, I feel bad for him. You know why? And this might sound a little silly, but chat, listen to this and comments, let me know. Somebody's going to see that tweet or that response that she had saying that he hates women and that he's a misogynist. And people are going to believe that and hate him for the rest of their lives. They're going to look at this man and tell their friends he hates women. He's a misogynist. It's the same accusation with no proof behind it. All there was a political debate. And he happened to be right, and it happened to be the news where both of them got cut off. And he happened to be right at the moment where they were both cut off because it's the news.
And well timed, by the way.
A little stupid.
Yeah,
and it was well timed.
Yep. He looked at it.
He got the points in.
Guarantee he looked at the seconds left and said, "Boy, watch what I can do." Let's go to one more clip from him and see why they're losing their minds. And again, CNN Civil War is here. They want this guy gone. Here's another clip of Scott Jennings just from the last 48 hours.
You know, it sounds like it should be in the top 10 choices is a Palestinian person, which does not appear on this peace board. And that's how we know that Donald Trump's alleged ceasefire, which the state of Israel has violated countless times, by the way, is just a facade. And
you're going to let the aggressors in this war onto the peace board? I don't think so.
Who are the aggressors in this war?
Hamas, the Palestinians, Hamas that invaded Israel, that raped, murdered, kidnapped, and tortured the Israelis. That
are you claiming right now that the state of Israel has never committed rape, torture, or murder against innocent Palestinians? Can you make that claim?
The entire reason we had this war is because of October the 7th. So, no, I don't think they should be invited to be on the peace board until they, demilitarize and do the rest of the things they're supposed to do.
There you go, folks. We won't weigh in. We'll just tell you, this is why they can't stand him. They cannot stand him.
Clouding the issue with facts.
That's right. One more time, the Julie Rodzinski thing, and this is why, she's out there saying he's got to go. Will others join him? We'll play it one more time because it's just so, it's just amazing media to watch.
You listen to Scott and you listen to all this rhetoric coming out of the Republican Party. These are the same people that defended opening fire hoses on protesters in the 60s on the Selma Bridge. I mean, these are people who consistently
I think those were Democrats, Julie. Just FYI, those were Democrats. Those were Democrats in the 60s.
Scott, people like you.
That was your party.
Exactly that kind of behavior.
But thank you for reminding everybody that Democrats were against civil rights.
How about this, Scott? Why don't you let me finish and stop interrupting? Because clearly, whenever anybody tries
you're the one that brought up
against
Democrats. I agree with you. Democrats shouldn't have been against civil rights.
You're the person. Well, there you go. How about this, Scott? Why don't you continue talking, and I'll just sit here.
All
and
right.
listen to
You know
Go
what,
ahead.
guys?
You know what, guys? There's only one person who can help clarify this situation and where this goes with the CNN Civil War.
Clickbait, fraud, drama queen. Ugh, I wish there was a channel that was 5 to 6 minute news reads without the drama, frauds, and clickbait that could accurately let me know the current news, providing my crucial context utilizing all the different That Park Place contributors and creators.
Well, stupid. There is. It's the That Park Place YouTube channel, which will be going live real soon, so make sure you're subscribed so you can really stick it to the algorithms.
You're joking.
Nope.
Oh my.